National Library of the Netherlands is a very broad type of library. So since recently, actually since 2 years ago, we're also delivering services for the public library. So a National Library is of course, the National Library has national library tasks like depositor collections and the national bibliography. But apart from that, it has a close partnership with the university libraries and now also with public libraries. And we are actually developing services for the public libraries. So we provide them a website as a service. We provide them a catalog for searching through their collections, so that users can see what is in different libraries. And also for user services. So we are building one user database for every public library in the Netherlands. So, and the idea is that it shouldn't make a difference where you're a member of which library, that you can use services across libraries. That's basically the idea. And we're even taking this a step further, because we think that the National Library is also responsible of basically for the discovery of all the publicly funded library collections. So that's even in a broader area than the libraries I mentioned. So also library collections from museum and archives. So we're now looking into it in order to make them discoverable and findable, and that we at least can tell users, well, from this material, it's there available in that kind of collection. So we're really trying to be the central place for library collections, and we're not delivering all the services, but we are building up the infrastructure, so we know where things are, and based on that infrastructure, people can build new portals and interfaces, and that's basically the idea. Apart from that, I think it's interesting that we have a new policy plan. We're working up to the next policy plan, but our policy plan at the moment is it's really user-based, user-focused. So we are really redesigning our services from the perspective of the user, starting as a child up to people from old age, and we look at each category, each type of use, in order to see what the best services for them would be. So we're really rethinking our services, and that's quite a big operation. And the last step we're actually also taking is adopting a digital-first strategy. So in the end, we will have a physical collection, but it's only for deposit. So we make sure that it will be there for forever, actually. And we'll make all the information available through digital. So that's why this team, the digital library, is very relevant, of course, for us as well. And it's really part of our strategy. And we're doing massive digitization of all our focus material, and our collection, and the core collection of our national bibliography is everything that is published in the Netherlands or published about the Netherlands. That's basically our scope. And we're trying to get every material digitized and available for the public. And at the moment we have a very large digitized newspaper collection, which has a central interface where you can full text search through all the newspapers, and that's cooperation together with university libraries. So that's really a big project, which is very successful. It's being used very much. If you look at the current way the organization is built up, and the processes in the library, even the way people think about the collection, it's all based on the handling the physical collection. So we follow the process of the physical books, and at some point the physical becomes digital, and then we start doing different things because it's digital. But if you really say, okay, our core product is digital, then you start thinking in a different way, and it means that you start developing your business processes from the digital perspective. So digital is not a result of a derivative of the physical process, but the physical process is part of your digital delivery, and that is really kind of different. We're actually still in the redesign phase of that, because it's very difficult, and we have an organization that already exists for a long time, and it's always been physical, but I think if I look at the way we handle metadata, then it's really focused on the way we have to store the physical materials, and how we can find them back, and how we have to order them on the shelves and things like that. But if you want to make it accessible in a digital way, then you need other kind of metadata. You want maybe, that's maybe another example. We're also looking very much into automated metadata creation. So as soon as you get the book and you describe it, or you have it physically, you can digitize it, and you can derive the metadata from there. And it's not being done at the moment, because we used to describe it the way we've done it for a long time. But the digital first is really a kind of thinking back from the user who is in the digital world, and look at your services and see how good they match the product you're delivering. And it can be the case that you need to combine it with other services that are not directly related to the physical things you do, but they are necessary because you want to make the best offer for the user, and then you have to get other information connected to your infrastructure and deliver it in that respect. So, but it is very important to have enough material to build the service you want to build, and for that you need basically, like we're looking into, if you want to have a collection of books suitable in our public libraries for children of a certain age, then one way of doing it is depending on what the publisher says about it, or things like that. But there's also, you can also do that with automatic creation of data, and you can look at the type of words that are being used, the number of syllables, the length of the words, and things like that. And then you can add additional metadata in order to make the service as best as you can. And things like that are not the regular cataloging process. So if you look at all the different users, and you really look what the best service is you can provide for the user, and then you can derive the requirements from that, and then see what you can deliver for that. And a part of that is just part of your regular business, and you already have it, and a part of that you have to take from other sources, and that's also maybe the link to what we're doing with linked data and semantic web. We're trying to make connections to pieces of information that are not within our environment, but that could be relevant for the service. So we want to connect them in an easy way. And in order to connect data, to integrate data from different places, we think that linked data technology is really efficient technology for that. I think the most important driver for us in order to start working on DBpedia and to do Wikidata projects is in order to make the connection to the user that is not that doesn't know our services but will be interested if he knows what we're offering. So that's we think we can make connection to Wikipedia pages to tell about, to describe. Actually doing a project, it's a real very interesting project, at least we find. We're doing a project about historical newspapers in the Second World War. And there were illegal newspapers because they were, of course, not allowed by the people who ruled our country then. But there were a lot of illegal newspapers, and there were about 1,500, and we have them in the collection. And we're now doing a project together with Wikipedians to describe the newspapers, and we have metadata and other enriching data with it. And we invite the Wikipedians in the community to make the articles in the Wikipedia based on that. So we make a connection between the Wikipedia data and the collection of the things we have in the collection. And that is, of course, a very, how do you say it, a very detailed way of doing things, and it costs a lot of effort and you need to organize a lot of things. But in general, we think that we really should make our information findable where the people are. And the people are at Google, and so we think schema.org is very important, which we discussed yesterday as well. And we think that Wikipedia is an important place where people find their information, so we want to be visible. And it's not easy, and Wikipedia doesn't say, okay, give me your data and it's fine. But we're also working with Wikidata. One example is literary prizes. That's a topic I'm working on at the moment. People are in general interested in which author won which prize, but it's a lot of information, and it's constantly going on, and it's not really a task of us to keep record of it. And there are all different kind of collections of information about it, but there's no central place. And now I'm working with somebody in Wikidata and in Wikipedia who are building all the data on the literary prizes, and they're using our information to do that. So, and then from there you have the relations to the books, so they can find more information about the author and the books in our environment. So it's really about making the connection, and I think that's really important, and it's also part of the digital first strategy. You want to connect to the user where he is in his digital environment. These are all parts of our policy plans, and we're setting steps in order to do that. Like I told you about the newspapers, that is very successful. It's really not my expertise to know what's being measured and what the results are, but in general we're in a transition process, so we're doing a lot of things, and we're basically restructuring our services, and that's not yet finished. To explain a little bit more, like I said, 2 years ago the law, the library law in the Netherlands changed, and then they became responsible for the public libraries as well. So we're at the moment in the process of integrating the different infrastructures. So for me it's a very exciting time, but it's for the user. They're still they have a lot of services, but they're not getting the value we really would like them to get. So we're working on that, and that's a process with small steps, of course. Yeah, there was because this is the question was aimed at research, and that's one observation I had today and yesterday. That is a very academic approach in all the discussions and the topics. But the vision of the National Digital Library of India, I was inspired by the opening talk, and I could really envision it And I can see that it's very important for India in order to have a digital platform where people can, in a very low, very easily can make use of, and which can really give access to learning and education. So. And I think at the moment, and there was also a remark today on the panel, so it's that was also my observation, that we're not really talking about bridging the gap, but we talk about developing a grand service for education and for research. But it's really important to really, like I know from the public libraries, you really have to, you're in local situations where even an internet connection can be a challenge, and you need to think about those kind of things as well. So that's something I noticed. And in general, I think it's very important to come up with a flexible infrastructure, because it's a very large ambition. I think it's very impressive if you see all the plans are made for the future, and I think technology is changing so hard that you really want to have a sort of a stable core, and that you can add services and add collections without constantly redesigning your platform. So that's what we learned, at least from our services, that they were all very much built for the purpose of that service. And that was in my talk yesterday as well. You collect the data, you build the indexes, and you make the front ends, and then you have your service. But after a year or 2 years, you think, oh, I really need different collections. I want to need it different. I want to use this information on different on other places as well, and that doesn't fit because you have a very inflexible setup. So you really need to think about the architecture, and that is actually the department I work in. There is information architecture, enterprise architecture are really big topics there, and we discuss all the time from a functional perspective on what are the things we need to provide that are sustainable, that will be there in 5 years still, and even if the technology changes or user requirements change, then we can adapt them. But we should not redesign our whole infrastructure every 5 or 10 or 20 years. That's not the way to do it. And I think it's in general an IT problem. So I have good faith that it's in the right hands if I see all the knowledgeable people here. And I'm very impressed about this conference. And I was quite blank when I came here, but I'm really enjoying it. And I think everybody's doing a great job here. I'm very impressed, and I'll be curious to see what it will evolve to. And yeah, that's